The disabled tyrant's beloved pet fish. Transmigration. Chapter 116. If this were any of the other royal grandsons, the emperor might not have been so concerned. It was extremely probable that he would have really seized the opportunity to test. People always held suspicions towards unfamiliar people and unfamiliar things. However, for Jingwang's children, the emperor still remembered that 3 of them looked very similar to Jingwang in his youth, while the last one looked like Princess Consort Jing. Such an apparent thing. Was he blind that he would still need to question its validity? What made him suspicious, on the contrary, was the informant who reported the secret to Prince Li, as well as the scandal of concubine Lu being caught rendezvousing with someone else. The emperor had already ordered Luo Ruisheng to suppress the news. So where did Prince Li learn of this? The emperor's trust in Prince Li wasn't fleeting. Instead, it accumulated slowly since their youth. Otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed this little brother of his to control the royal family estate and given him the responsibility of taking care of all royal family-related issues. He was very certain that this wasn't a scheme from Prince Li. Then that meant someone had deliberately passed this information to Prince Li. First there was the secret letter, then they told Prince Li of the very recent incident with concubine Lu. Naturally, Prince Li would feel more concerned towards the contents of the letter, enough to run over to the hunting grounds to warn the emperor. The emperor usually listened to Prince Li's advice under most circumstances. If it weren't for his understanding towards Jingwang's children, those children and the 8th prince would have most likely been forced to confirm their identities. What would happen after that, the informant had already written in the letter. Wasn't this all just to prove that they weren't related to Jingwang and weren't part of the royal family? The emperor, who had once experienced the battle for the throne many years ago, also knew many shameful unspeakable methods. That's why he was so furious here. Regardless of what the 8th prince's test result would have been, he would have ended up always holding a doubt towards the 8th prince because of concubine Lu. Meanwhile, if there were any issues with Jingwang's children, he was likely to have reached the end of his relationship with Jingwang as well. This was a malicious plan to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If it truly succeeded, the 8th prince and Jingwang would have been forsaken. Luckily, because of his trust in these children, he promptly saw through this venomous scheme. If he had been fooled otherwise, what would have happened to Dabao then? The emperor didn't dare to think any further. Tianqi, do you have any idea? The emperor asked Jingwang again. He hoped that Jingwang was also able to see through the issues here like he did. Jingwang was in deep thought. The emperor's protective feelings over Dabao made Jingwang realize that his original plans might require a slight change. Jingwang considered a moment and then asked for a brush and paper from the emperor and writing speedily, "Concubine Lu is bait. Someone is attempting to frame Dabao to create a false charge against me." The emperor nodded his head. It looks like Jingwang was pretty smart. Since the emperor asked, Jingwang took the opportunity to divulge another thing. A few days ago, a villain secretly entered the Jing estate, wanting to steal Dabao's blood. Yet he unknowingly obtained someone else's blood by accident. Jingwang tried his best to explain this in a clever manner, not letting the emperor discover that what had happened was part of his counterattack. As for who was behind that villain, if Jingwang said out loud directly, the emperor might become suspicious of him instead. Jingwang was confident that he didn't need to mention who would gain the most benefit here. The emperor can figure out the answer by himself. The emperor finally understood another similarity between Dabao and Jingwang. When Jingwang was young, he was also plotted against. Jingwang's words gave more evidence that this was a long premeditated plot. Then what about concubine Lu? Now the emperor started recalling how concubine Lu knelt on the ground and begged him desperately. A strange man was indeed captured inside concubine Lu's tent. Concubine Lu also acknowledged that she once knew this man. However, Concubine Lu swore again and again that after she entered the imperial palace, the two people cut off all relations. She didn't even know why that man would suddenly appear inside the hunting grounds and enter her tent. Was there something fishy going on here, too? Luckily he didn't kill the person directly in his anger yesterday. Otherwise, there'd really be no one alive to tell the tale. Concubine Lu had already been sent back to the imperial palace overnight. The emperor decided to interrogate the man who had been beaten to the last of his breaths by the guards. Perhaps there'd be some new clues. You stay here. There's no need for you to head back. Just wait until I finish investigating the truth, the emperor said to Jing Wang. This wasn't because the emperor didn't trust Jing Wang. Instead, the emperor wanted to deliberately create a facade to lure the culprit behind the scenes into a false sense of security. By making the other believe that Jing Wang had been locked up, it would make the investigation progress more smoothly. Jing Wang understood that the emperor must have some other plans and hastily knelt down. Tianqi, what's wrong with you? The emperor didn't understand Jing Wang's meaning. Jing Wang pointed his finger towards the direction of his own tent and looked at the emperor. The emperor furrowed his brows. Are you worried about Liu and the children? No worries. I can have Luo Ruisheng deliver a verbal message for you. It's not only because he was worried, so Jing Wang slowly shook his head. The emperor recalled the sticky sweet relationship between Jing Wang and Princess Consort Zheng. He said helplessly, "Them you can write a message and give it to Luo Ruisheng. That should be fine, right?" Jing Wang hesitated for a moment and still shook his head. The emperor. What do you want exactly? Guessing a few times but unable to get it right, the emperor was somewhat annoyed. He unconsciously raised his voice. Why don't I bring them over as well and have them reunite with you? The emperor was originally just tossing this out casually. Unexpectedly, Jing Wang actually clasped his hands seriously and thanked him. The emperor. The emperor was almost angered to death by Jing Wang. Waving his hand, he said, "Fine. I will let Luo Ruisheng take a trip personally." Head manager Luo instantly agreed and came over to ask Jing Wang what he should pass along. Jing Wang lowered his head and pulled out a silver pearl that was tied around a red string. The emperor was practically nauseated and expressed that he didn't want to bother with Jing Wang anymore. Unintentionally, he still saw that Jing Wang didn't have only one thing hanging around his neck. Other than the silver pearl, there was also a round-looking stone. The emperor cursed silently. What the heck was that? Jing Wang was about to hand over the silver pearl. Thinking again, he put it away again and continued to kneel. You're reneging now, the emperor said disgruntledly. Jing Wang's eyes shone brightly. Apologizing to the emperor, he brought out his true request. After Jing Wang went to see the emperor, Liu and the kids remained in the tent. Because Jing Wang wasn't here, there was no one he could talk with. Liu felt a bit out of sorts. The children were unable to sit still. Even though they couldn't really walk, the small tent was not big enough to hold their childish hearts. Liu had no choice but to play with them to distract them. It was also a distraction for himself. Jing Wang hasn't returned for quite a while. That sense of worry and panic that Liu had back then when he had to remain by himself in the private residence appeared once again. Calm down. You have to believe in him. Don't act reckless. Liu took deep breaths and told himself constantly. Daddy, Daddy. Si Bao's young and tender voice traveled over. Liu returned from his thoughts and discovered that the children were holding onto the corner of his clothes tightly. There's the children to think about. He definitely couldn't lose his composure. With a smile, Liu moved close to each of them individually and gave them kisses. Do you boys want to play hide and seek or tug of war? The boys exchanged looks. Tug of war was very boring because whichever side Fish Dad took, that side would win. Therefore, the four boys unanimously chose hide and seek. Liu led them in their games, using a handkerchief to cover the children's eyes in turns, letting one of them do the seeking while the rest do the hiding. The children weren't very good at walking yet. Liu didn't make it too difficult for them. He didn't hide much and just let them find him. Very quickly, it was his turn to seek. Liu's eyes were covered by airbao and sanbao together. The boys still didn't know how to make a proper knot with the handkerchief. Dabao had a great idea and pulled Wang Shi over to lend a hand. Laughing with his mouth covered, Wang Gonggong tied the handkerchief around Liu's eyes with a slip knot. Dabao, airbao, sanbao, and sibao dispersed. If they couldn't walk quickly, they crawled. If they couldn't crawl quickly, they rolled. Dabao went straight for the cloth curtains. Lifting the curtain, he hid behind it. Airbao and sanbao found a bamboo crate and dove into it together. Bumping their heads together, they felt like something didn't fit quite right here. Then they found a table and dove under it together again. Bumping their heads together again, it still didn't fit quite right. The two boys rubbed their foreheads and looked at each other. Suddenly they reached an understanding. One of them went to hide under the table while the other one hid under the bamboo crate. Sibao looked around all over. Pulling open the blanket, he laid inside. Liu counted from 1 to 10 and started to look for the fish babies. He pulled the handkerchief around his eyes down a little. Immediately, he saw a bulge in the curtain for some reason. The originally standing bamboo crate had fallen to the floor, revealing half of a tiny little butt. Under the table, someone was covering his head with his hands. Liu laughed and coughed lightly. To make it more entertaining, he deliberately covered his eyes with the handkerchief again and went to catch the fish babies with the handkerchief still on. Even if Daddy has his eyes covered, he can still find you boys, Liu said proudly. He extremely accurately dragged out the ones inside the bamboo crate and under the table. Then he suddenly pulled open the curtain. The children screamed in surprise. Delighted laughter followed. Liu already found 3 and got ready to go find the 4th one. The tent wasn't very big. The only other place where a kid could hide was the bed. Liu was very confident and felt his way towards the bed. Suddenly, he touched a very tall, big, and firm thing. He thought, why would something like this be inside the tent? The children's voices gradually resounded. They all let out pleasantly surprised calls of father. Father! Liu felt up an elbow and also felt up a leg. He hastily pulled off the handkerchief covering his eyes. Not even seeing the person clearly, he found himself in a full embrace. An intense kiss greeted him. Liu jumped in shock. Discovering that it was Jingwang's scent, he immediately surrendered and almost drowned in this sudden tenderness. Right in front of the fish babies, Fish Dad became a completely red, roasted fish. Forget it. It's all family here. Kissing back and forth wasn't anything crazy. Liu mumbled to himself in an ostrich mode. He thought, he and Jingwang just separated for a short while, so how come they were acting so sickeningly sticky like they had been apart for a long time? Of course Liu didn't know that just now in front of the emperor had straightforwardly asked Jingwang if he knew what was going on. Jingwang was really in a situation no different than standing at the edge of a cliff. With just one mistake, he would have fallen and broken into pieces. However, Jingwang survived. And he even obtained the emperor's trust. Reuniting with Liu afterwards, how could he not be happy? However, he didn't specifically let Liu know why he was in this special mood. Oh right, how come you're dressed like this? Liu hugged Jingwang's arm. Jingwang had changed into the outfit of an imperial guard, dressed very differently from when he had left, which made Liu not recognize him as quickly. Jingwang smiled and did his best to briefly write down what had happened. So, imperial father-in-law want us to head over? Liu asked in surprise. Jingwang nodded his head. Best to set off as soon as possible. Don't let anyone else know. Liu didn't understand. Since they were going to unite at the emperor's place, why did Jingwang run back over here? He could have just sent someone to pass along the message. Moreover, returning was one thing, why did he return dressed up like an imperial guard? Although Li Yu didn't ask this question, his expression asked loudly enough for him. Jingwang held Li Yu's hand under their sleeves and pointed at his nose with a smile. Li Yu. Did this mean it was all for him? Li Yu's thoughts suddenly cleared. That's right. Why would Jingwang make this trip? Wasn't it because Jingwang was worried about the safety of himself and the children? Jingwang had specifically begged the emperor to come over here under disguise to pick them up. With the children present, Li Yu was extremely touched but also felt too embarrassed to start kissing again. However, he was very happy that Jingwang would be so considerate and go so far for him. Li Yu squeezed and held onto Jingwang's hand tightly, swinging it lightly, expressing that he will forever remember this. Li Yu and Wang Shi picked up the children and got ready to go. Right before they left, they discovered that one was missing. So, Si Bao had hidden inside the blankets during the hide-and-seek game. While waiting for Fish Dad to come find him, he accidentally fell asleep. Still pretending to be a guard, Jingwang lowered his head and carried Si Bao out of the blankets. He guarded the group rather professionally. The group didn't go far when they bumped directly into the sixth prince. Princess Consort Jing is in such a hurry. Did something happen? Oh right, how come fifth elder brother isn't here? The sixth prince looked like he was just taking a walk, bumped into Li Yu accidentally and making the casual inquiries. However, Li Yu knew that the sixth prince was most likely probing for information. If he took too long to reply or if the sixth prince discovered that the guard next to him was Jingwang himself, that'd be terrible. The facade that the emperor had created of being furious with Jingwang would be broken. But how was he supposed to reply so that the sixth prince wouldn't become suspicious while doing his quickest to extricate them from the sixth prince? Sixth prince, my family's prince hasn't returned yet. Our princess consort wants to go make some inquiries. Wang Shi was eager to protect his master and scrambled to answer for Li Yu. After Prince Li and the emperor had finished their secret discussion, the emperor immediately summoned Jingwang. Everyone knew this. Outwardly, there was really no information regarding Jingwang. Therefore, Wang Shi's words were actually somewhat credible. He really hasn't returned yet. The sixth prince's eyes brightened. Did this mean his scheme was progressing as planned? Did the emperor already become suspicious of Jingwang? Was that why he had kept Jingwang behind? Li Yu forcefully nodded his head. Jingwang secretly gripped the sword in his hand tightly. If the sixth prince dared to make a move towards Xiao Yu, he would definitely act first to protect Xiao Yu. Fortunately, all of the sixth prince's attention was on Li Yu and the children. With Wang Shi acting as a distraction in the midst of this as well, the sixth prince, who was focused single-heartedly on seeking information from Princess Consort Jing, didn't notice the irregularity of this guard. Everyone here had their internal thoughts. Li Yu was just thinking about a method to escape in a natural manner when De Bao tugged his hand and suddenly started crying loudly, "Dad, want father." Reacting quickly, Li Yu seized the opportunity to hug De Bao and coax him, "De Bao, don't cry. I'll take you to find him right now." Li Yu nodded his head slightly towards the sixth prince and walked off immediately, squeezing De Bao in the middle with Wang Gong, with Jingwang following behind them closely. End chapter. The Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish. Transmigration. Chapter 117. Although the sixth prince thought it was odd that Princess Consort Jing ran off so quickly, disappearing in a blink of an eye, he never had many exchanges with this male princess consort that Jingwang had suddenly married. Furthermore, after learning that Jingwang didn't return yet, the sixth prince really couldn't suppress his inner delight. Even if a slight bit of confusion flashed across his mind, he quickly forgot about it. He didn't actually attempt to contact his subordinates. Having his scheme go according to plan was the best possibility. Hastily going off to send news now would be a foolish move. The conclusion would most likely result in the next 2 days at most. Extremely pleased and confident, the sixth prince walked off to his own tent. Upon entering his tent, he immediately saw Lady Liang's downcast face. The sixth prince felt like this was practically attracting bad luck. Before he needed the support of the Marquis of Dingbei, Lady Liang's maternal family, and also for the sake of the child inside Lady Liang's stomach, he had no choice but to pamper Lady Liang. Lady Liang was very sensitive during her pregnancy. The sixth prince had long lost some of his patience. However, currently he was in a pretty good mood. He finally faced Lady Liang with a rare real pleasantry. "Rest early, don't get too tired," the sixth prince said warmly. Liang Suyun was shocked by this sudden concern. Since the start of the last month, the sixth prince had already started to treat her somewhat coldly. Lady Liang had been suffering unspeakable troubles. To be honest, this was all because of her child. She knew that this unborn child was extremely important to the sixth prince. Previously, the entire family and her as well all hoped that this unborn child was a boy. However, the examining physician told her that it was most probably a girl. Several physicians all said this in succession. After the sixth prince learned of this, although he didn't blame Lady Liang outright, he immediately turned around and married 2 beautiful concubines. He told her bluntly that he was at a critical juncture and needed to have a son as soon as possible, that this was also for their better future. Her own body failing to live up to expectation, Lady Liang had no choice but to accept it. Her maternal family, who usually supported her, surprisingly also agreed with the sixth prince and wanted her to be patient. Lady Liang's mood became lower and lower by the day, stomach full of worries that she had no one to speak about. A happy and lively girl before marriage, she became completely neurotic after getting married, unconsciously shedding tears for no reason. Yet the sixth prince would always spend his nights with the concubines, only occasionally coming to see her and displaying affections only in front of others. Whether or not she and the sixth prince were suitable, Lady Liang couldn't really even say now. However, she saw how the princely Jingwang doted on Princess Consort Jing dearly and felt extremely envious in her heart. This time the sixth prince was finally talking and smiling to her. Lady Liang really hoped that these days could last a bit longer. Liu, Jingwang, and Wang Shi brought the children and walked far away. After making certain that the sixth prince wasn't following them, they finally let out a breath of relief. This time it was really all thanks to De Bao. With a smile, Liu picked De Bao up. De Bao stopped crying a while ago already. His black grape-like eyes were shining brightly as he looked at the gleeful fish dad with his tilted head. Liu was startled. He had known all this time that De Bao was smarter than all of the other boys and that he could understand adult speech. Could it be that just now? Did De Bao did that on purpose? With a smile, Liu nuzzled De Bao's face and asked in a low voice. "He's bad." De Bao pointed his chubby soft little finger towards that certain someone in the distance. The sixth prince always hid himself very well in front of other people. Normally people weren't able to see through the sixth prince's true nature. However, De Bao was extremely favored by the emperor and would often be carried to Ganqing Palace. He always saw the sixth prince coming to pay respect to the emperor. In front of the emperor, the sixth prince naturally wouldn't display anything. However, when the emperor was not paying attention, the sixth prince always looked at De Bao with a poisonous gaze. He treated De Bao like a normal little child who was not even 1 year old. The sixth prince didn't feel concern towards him and freely expressed his hatred for the child. However, De Bao wasn't normal at all. Before becoming an infant, he was a little fish for 10 months. Fish grew up faster than humans. De Bao already understood a lot of things early on. The gaze that the sixth prince used to look at him was not kind and made De Bao very uncomfortable. Therefore, he remembered that the sixth prince was bad. However, De Bao was ultimately still a child. Encountering a bad person who made him ill at ease, he only instinctively wanted to keep him away. Just now, he did his best to cry and make a fuss because he wanted Fish Dad to leave this bad man behind. Although it was by complete accident, De Bao, who had managed to protect Fish Dad once, was extremely happy. Jingwang extended over a palm and rubbed De Bao on the head. De Bao was so excited that his little face flushed all red. Father Jingwang rubbed his head. Liu also rewarded De Bao with kisses, smearing half of De Bao's face with saliva. Liu was just kissing enthusiastically when his vision blurred. Air Bao, San Bao, and Si Bao all leaned over as well, chubby little faces moving in front of him. Kisses were unlimited and everyone had equal rights. Everyone behave. Liu suppressed a laugh and kissed them one by one. The family of 6 together with Wang Shi quickly went to the dragon tent. The emperor had been waiting for a long time. When he saw Jingwang and Liu bringing the children over, the emperor smiled and teased Jingwang, "Are you finally satisfied now?" The emperor was teasing Jingwang for begging him before. Jingwang silently accepted it. Liu looked at the emperor and then looked at Jingwang. He was very curious. Although Jingwang didn't express any discontent, he placed De Bao down on the ground. The best mediator De Bao was put down. He immediately strode with his short legs and staggered towards his imperial grandfather. The emperor had no trouble feeling annoyed with his son, however, when he saw his grandson, he immediately burst with joy. Immediately he changed the topic. "Why do Zhen feel like De Bao is walking even better now?" Liu. De Bao wasn't. De Bao hasn't. Your Majesty, you saw him just a few hours ago. You're clearly speaking lies with your eyes open right now. After suffering untold hardships and tribulations, De Bao finally walked in front of the emperor and grabbed the dragon robe by the leg. The emperor picked up De Bao, beaming with all smiles. With the chubby meaty little grandson in his arms, the emperor felt extreme detest towards the person attempting to plot against his little grandson. If Jingwang fell and the 8th prince was spurned, who amongst the remaining would gain the most benefit? The emperor actually knew the answer to this very well. It's just that the other person has never displayed such craftiness in front of him. But then didn't this prove that the other person was very good at hiding and had been pretending in front of him all of these years? He needed to force the other and catch him in the act, so that he had no more opportunities to make excuses again. The emperor already had a thorough plan, however, this plan required the collaboration of Jingwang's family. "Kai, can you help Grandpa with something?" the emperor asked with a smile. Actually, he only needed to give an imperial order. However, the emperor still asked De Bao personally. De Bao blinked a few times. He discovered that all of the adults loved to ask for his help. Fish Dad often did it. Grandpa also asked now. De Bao liked Fish Dad and also liked Grandpa. Of course he was willing. De Bao patted his little chest and said, "N." The emperor's eyes were filled with smiles and continued to tease him, "Even if it will hurt." De Bao scrunched up his little chubby face. Fish Dad told him, he needed to do what he promised. De Bao was afraid of pain, but he also can't renege now. De Bao gathered his courage and nodded his head, "Yes." Liu faintly guessed what it was, however, because this was the emperor's decree. Liu and Jingwang couldn't do anything. The children were born at the west frontier. It was hard to avoid the spread of rumors about them. The emperor's decision was also to completely make those gossipers shut their mouths. He also knew that the pain that the emperor mentioned wasn't really that painful. However, as the children's father, he still hated for it to happen. The emperor summoned the imperial physicians over. Liu was unable to watch and turned around. Jingwang held his hand under their sleeves. Liu pinched Jingwang's hand ruthlessly, as if venting. Jingwang didn't even furrow his brows one bit. On the emperor's side, because he was worried that Adeo would fear pain, the emperor personally held De Bao on his knees. Head steward Luo came over to obtain the blood. The emperor watched head steward Luo coldly throughout the entire process. Luo Ruisheng already worked for the emperor for many years. Yet this time, his fingers trembled faintly. He was actually even more nervous than Jing Wang's heir, who was sitting on the emperor's knees. De Bao said he wasn't scared, but he still got scared. As soon as he saw the needle, he closed his eyes. Then he felt a pinch on his thumb. De Bao really felt that it wasn't that bad. It was much less painful than the time he hurt his mouth trying to eat too much lychee. However, when he opened his eyes and looked left and right, De Bao discovered that Fish Dad's eyes were all red. Grandpa and Father Jing Wang both looked like they wanted to hit someone. De Bao. Head steward Luo gathered the courage to ask, "Your Majesty, what about the other young masters?" Although he understood that head steward Luo was only following procedure, Liu really wanted to commit murder now. The other boys saw their older brother being pricked by the needle and all became terrified, not even daring to breathe deeply. The emperor was just about to shake his head when De Bao said in a hurry, Yeah, let me." De Bao was aware that this still hurt somewhat. His little brothers might not be able to endure it as well as himself. If Grandpa needed to do more needle pricks, then De Bao was willing to do it for his little brothers. De Bao bravely extended another finger. The emperor. The smile in the emperor's eyes became deeper. "All right." Luo Ruisheng paused, not expecting this to be allowed. De Bao thought he was going to get pricked again and closed his eyes in fear again. However, after waiting for a while, it didn't actually happen. Luo Gonggong only obtained a few more drops of blood from his already bleeding finger. The emperor asked for bandages and wrapped up De Bao's wound personally, going around multiple times and creating a heavy thick layer. De Bao returned to Liu. Liu held De Bao in distress. The other boys didn't even fight over Fish Dad's embrace. With Si Bao in the lead, they all started blowing air towards De Bao's well-wrapped finger. The children felt that if they blew on it, it wouldn't hurt anymore. Seeing this, the emperor's heart softened into a puddle because of these boys. The emperor then asked Luo Ruisheng to go summon the 8th prince. On the day of concubine Lu's incident, the 8th prince and the 7th prince were staying in the same tent. The night was a hubbub of voices. The 8th prince felt like it was very noisy, but no one dared to tell him anything. Ever since then, he hasn't been able to see his mother. Even the 7th prince, who normally had a pretty good relationship with him, would evade him on sight. It was actually the 6th prince who kindly told him what happened. After learning that his own mother was discovered rendezvousing with a strange man, the 8th prince was completely dumbfounded. Although he was only 7 years old, he already knew what kind of crime this was. His mother was already sent back to the imperial palace in a hurry. The servants were all pointing and whispering behind his back. The emperor mentioned wanting to test his blood. The 8th prince grinned at his teeth and agreed. In any case, the only way to clear this matter was to go ahead and do this blood test. The emperor was all prepared on his side and ordered Luo Ruisheng to go summon Prince Li, his sons, several important officials, as well as elder of the noble families into the dragon tent. The emperor announced, Prince Li received a secret report saying that the royal family bloodline was in question. I have decided to use the imperial secret method to test it. The emperor didn't actually mention a letter. Nor did he mention who was getting tested. He only said that these people's blood had already been obtained and ordered the imperial physicians who knew the secret method to perform the test quickly. The elders of the nobilities and other important officials were all shocked by the emperor's method of announcement. First, the emperor didn't actually divulge whose bloodline was in question. Second, the jade bottles that the physicians needed to examine, other than having some strange notations, no one was able to tell who they belonged to. The idea of these symbols were actually a contribution from Liu. After learning the emperor's plans, Liu suggested using symbols to substitute people's names. Only the emperor himself would know which symbol correlated with which person. The 6th prince was originally waiting for the emperor to fly into explosive rage after learning the result. He never expected the emperor to use this kind of method. Normally, the imperial physicians would obtain the blood first and then do the examination. The physicians would actually know who they were testing. However, now with the emperor's method, the physicians also didn't know either. It could be seen from this that the emperor was guarded against the imperial physicians as well. The most reliable method of falsifying bloodlines was to bribe an imperial physician. There weren't actually many imperial physicians who knew about the secret formula in this dynasty. Because the sixth prince's mother, concubine Zhang, had once saved the life of an imperial physician with the surname Pan, the sixth prince managed to convince this physician Pan to privately examine the blood obtained from the little heir at the Jing estate. It was also because physician Pan had promised repeatedly that the little heir wasn't part of the royal clan that the sixth prince felt like this encounter would go without a hitch. Jingwang's heir wasn't of royal blood. This was already an ironclad fact. Even the imperial physicians didn't know who was who, but to the sixth prince, this wasn't a hindrance. It's just that the sixth prince couldn't help but question why the emperor would make this kind of arrangement. Wang Shi, what should we do? The sixth prince looked around. He easily saw Princess Consort Jing carrying the little heir, who had an injured finger, while anxiously discussing countermeasures with Wang Shi. Excluding the second and third prince, the emperor had summoned all of the other princes. Only Jingwang did not appear. Looks like the emperor still had Jingwang locked away, which caused Princess Consort Jing to be extremely anxious. The sixth prince ordered his personal servant to go listen in. Princess Consort Jing was very vigilant. That personal servant didn't dare to get too close. He could only faintly hear Princess Consort Jing said "can't find," "unable to swap" and other such phrases. The sixth prince mumbled to himself and pondered briefly and knew that Princess Consort Jing was panicking here. Where did the little heir had come from? Princess Consort Jing probably knew better than anyone else. The emperor's arrangement didn't make the sixth prince worry. The people worrying were Jingwang's group. Therefore, the emperor's decisions should have been to guard against Jingwang, fearing that Jingwang would attempt to commit fraud. The sixth prince still had nothing to worry about. The sixth prince was under the impression that he had figured the emperor out. Calming down, he quietly waited for the news. On the other side, physician Pan, who was helping the sixth prince, was actually somewhat flustered. The imperial physicians had to be extremely cautious in dealing with the royal bloodline. Therefore, they first examined the blood individually and then got together to verify the result. Here physician Pan had discovered surprisingly that all of the blood was of royal blood. Why was this result different from the one that the sixth prince had expected? Physician Pan was dumbfounded. Since this matter was related to the sixth prince's great cause, physician Pan decided that no matter what, he needed to send a message to the sixth prince to confirm what he should do. Claiming to be ill and not done with his examination, he said he wanted to go wash his hand outside and then ran out in a hurry. End chapter. The disabled tyrant's beloved pet fish. Transmigration. Chapter 118. In an inconspicuous corner, physician Pan waited and then waited some more. He had managed to get away momentarily using the excuse of feeling unwell, but he couldn't stay for too long. He had sent out a pigeon that had a strip of cloth tied to its leg. Just as he almost gave up hope in waiting, a man dressed in servant's clothes walked towards him. "Are you asking for death? Why are you requesting to meet the master at this time?" The man reprimanded him impatiently. "I have something important to report." Physician Pan realized whose subordinate this was. Like pouring beans out of a cup, he explained the results of the blood tests. This was indeed an enormous problem. The man also couldn't make the final decision here. Furrowing his brows, he made the physician continue to wait while he went to report this. Physician Pan had no other choice but to force himself to continue to wait. Luckily, the sixth prince was in a small tent not far away. He definitely wouldn't go meet with physician Pan in person. Even though they were nearby, he still circumvented and made his subordinate handle the meeting for him. After learning about the situation that the physician had encountered, The sixth prince was also shocked. What's going on? Jingwang's heir definitely had his blood taken. So, how come the physician's result was that all the blood were those of royal family? It was Jingwang. Don't tell him, Jingwang had already done something ahead of time. This was the only plausible explanation. Jingwang. Jingwang again. The sixth prince unconsciously squeezed his hands into tight fists. He was so close. If Jingwang managed to pass this junction safely, the emperor would definitely place complete trust in Jingwang. He would no longer be able to make any more fuss out of the bloodlines. Once the little heir gained the imperial physician's acknowledgement, Jingwang would sit even more securely in his position. Before, in order to make the emperor suspicious of the little heir, the sixth prince had involved all of the other princes in his scheme as well. He also had buried a hidden trick up his sleeve regarding concubine Lu. If he continued to hesitate, then everything that he had done would only become a stepping stone for Jingwang. It was his miscalculation. He never imagined this would happen. However, it was still not too late that he received this information. Wealth and fortune was a result of taking risks. Hasn't he been continuously taking risk to improve his situation? Why skip out on this once? If Jingwang could rig the system, why couldn't he? How could he concede just like this? Since it was impossible to tell who was who, then he might as well make all of the blood fail the test. It would work then, right? The eighth prince's blood was definitely also tested. He originally had thought that this younger brother was tragic enough and didn't have any plans to give him another blow. If the eighth prince wanted to blame anyone, then just let him go and blame Jingwang. With a vicious and malevolent face, the sixth prince instructed as such, "Tell Physician Pan to do it." Receiving a reply, Physician Pan headed back. After returning to where the tent where the imperial physicians were, Physician Pan already came up with a plan. The method to verify the royal bloodline was actually related to the emperor who founded this country. This emperor had once used a medicine called Kylan gold. This medicine didn't look too special at first glance. However, after taking it, whenever this person's blood encountered another type of medicinal herb called dragon's vine, it would shine faintly gold. Back then, the founding emperor used this to suggest that he was chosen by the mandate of heaven to rule. Because he had used Kylan gold, this effect was passed down to all of his descendants. Although it's said that every generation, the shine would grow fainter, real blood of royalty would still shine gold after encountering dragon's vine. Therefore, the secret of verifying royal blood was using dragon's vine. Because the royal family needed to protect this secret, dragon's vine had long been pretty much exterminated from this world. The only remaining ones were the few that grew inside the imperial physician's courtyard. Physician Pan knew about the dragon's vine. He also experimented with dragon's vine plenty of times before. Inside his medicine box was a small bottle of liquid. The liquid had aluminite powder, which can disrupt the effect of dragon's vine. Originally he brought it just in case, but because he didn't know which bottle was the little heir's blood, he couldn't use it. Now that he had the sixth prince's order to change everyone's result, on the contrary, he now had a plan. Physician Pan used a silver needle to insert the liquid. Casually stirring it, he changed a yes result into a no. Because it involved the secrets of the royal family, only a few imperial physicians were busy in the tent. There were only guards outside the tent. Imperial Physician Pan took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention and quickly poured the medicine into all the bottles of blood. After doing all this, Imperial Physician Pan pretended that he had just finished the test and began to check with the other imperial physicians. Naturally, Imperial Physician Pan had a different result. Imperial Physician Pan solemnly said, "We are all working for the emperor. If we don't agree, how can we present it to the emperor? Why don't we repeat the test?" Although the other imperial physicians were displeased, Physician Pan's words held a few degrees of logic. In the end, they still agreed and started testing all over again. Seeing the imperial physicians using the blood that he had altered to test again, Physician Pan wiped away the sweat on his forehead. Finally, his task was completed. What he didn't know was that behind a screen, the person in charge of observing him saw everything that had occurred and recorded it in a booklet. This time, the imperial physicians all obtained a completely opposite result than before. The people that the emperor wanted them to test were actually all not of royal blood. This result was rather shocking. The imperial physicians tested a few times again. They also examined all of the dragon's vine, but there was nothing wrong with them. Physician Pan exclaimed dramatically, "Good thing we retested, or else someone would have ended up deceiving the emperor." The imperial physicians couldn't figure out any irregularities. They could only present this strange result. When those princes, officials, royal elders, and Prince Li, who were all waiting inside the dragon's tent this entire time, received the result, their expressions turned unsightly. The eighth prince's face color was deathly white as he looked ready to collapse. "Your Majesty, this..." Prince Li was the first one who mentioned wanting to do the test. But even Prince Li never imagined that Jingwang's little heir and the eighth prince were actually both not of royal blood. What a crime! The emperor's eyes held barely restrained thunder and lightning. He said profoundly with a careful restraint, "Good thing the imperial physicians performed this test, or else I would have really been kept completely in the dark." Hearing these words, the sixth prince became excited. Still, he didn't forget to peek at Princess Consort Jing's response. At this time, Li Yu had already knelt down, hugging the children tightly and burying his face into them. The sixth prince couldn't see his expression at all, however, he clearly discovered that Princess Consort Jing's hand was shaking. This should mean that everything was exposed. That he was scared. The sixth prince was very smug but still earnestly pleaded the emperor to calm his anger with the rest of the crowd. The emperor said with a heavy voice, "Someone must be held accountable for this." He just finished speaking when two squads of imperial guards charged into the tent. However, they didn't do what the sixth prince had imagined, which was to take away Princess Consort Jing and Jingwang's fake sons. Instead, they pulled Physician Pan out of the crowd. The officials and Prince Li were stunned. Attempting to pass off as a royal member was a heavy crime. They thought that the emperor was about to deal with all related people and start a bloodbath. However, they never imagined that the first one to face the emperor's blade was a seemingly completely unrelated imperial physician. Physician Pan was scared terribly by the ferocious-looking guards. His first thought was, did the emperor already discover what he had done? However, at that time back in the tent, no one noticed him. How would the emperor know? Physician Pan said mulishly, "Your Majesty, what did this official do wrong?" He didn't even finish saying his last syllable when the emperor replied already with a cold smile. A guard threw a secret report directly in Physician Pan's face. Another guard opened the medicine box that he was carrying and extremely accurately found that bottle of liquid. The bottle still had some left over. Physician Pan didn't have the time to get rid of this bottle yet. Moreover, the old saying was, the most dangerous place was the safest. Therefore, he had carried it with him this entire time. The emperor ordered the other physicians to first look at the liquid and then go look at the blood that they were testing. After a careful whiff and close observation, all of the imperial physicians became exceptionally furious, saying that there was aluminite within it. Aluminite's effect counteracted with the effect of dragon's vine and would greatly disrupt the accuracy of the secret method. No wonder during the first time, they all arrived at the conclusion that all of the blood were of royal blood, except Physician Pan. After Physician Pan suggested retesting, all of the results afterwards changed into not royal of blood. Physician Pan clearly planted false evidence. So actually, the result just now was false. The imperial physicians changed their tune in unison, terrified that the emperor would start investigating them as well. The officials and Prince Li hadn't even recovered from the first shock. Now they received another one. The eighth prince looked towards the emperor with an expression full of childish admiration and gratitude. If it weren't for the emperor, he might have suffered injustice. As soon as the emperor ordered people to seize Physician Pan, the sixth prince's face color immediately changed. However, the situation turned too quickly. He still didn't get a chance to understand what had happened when the imperial guard seized someone else out of the crowd, a rather plain-looking subordinate. This was the subordinate that he had sent to contact Physician Pan. The sixth prince's cold sweat rolled right into his eyes. His vision immediately blurred. "Whose servant is this?" the emperor asked coolly. The sixth prince didn't dare to move. He also didn't dare to say anything. He felt like the emperor's gaze had landed right on him. He felt like if he said even one sentence, the emperor would definitely also seize him as well. Since he couldn't figure it out at the moment, then he just wouldn't think about it anymore. Right now, the only thing he could do was protect himself. That loyal subordinate was originally a distant relative of his birth mother, concubine Zhang. He had long held the lives of that person's family in his hands. That person definitely wouldn't betray him. If anything happened, he would admit to all of the crimes in the sixth prince's place. He was only afraid that Physician Pan might rat him out. However, as long as he refused to admit it, with only Physician Pan's word, the emperor still couldn't do anything to him. Because he often used letters as a tool to scheme against others, he never used writing to exchange information between himself and Physician Pan. The message was only transmitted verbally. This was the same between himself and his loyal subordinate. As long as he refused to budge, just like the previous bribery case, even if the emperor got angry, he couldn't just use one-sided words as evidence to deal with this prince. The most that could be revealed from an investigation was that he and the subordinate had a master and servant relationship. However, so what? He could still claim that he was deceived by a servant. A person who didn't know anything at all. The emperor had suddenly seized Physician Pan and a servant. Many people at the scene, one of which was Prince Li himself, were all befuddled as to why. Prince Li gathered the courage to ask, "Your Majesty, did this person do something?" The emperor gave the sixth prince a look. He didn't even reply yet when De Bao, who was pressed into Li Yu's embrace, raised his little chubby hand enthusiastically. Yeah. De Bao knew the answer to this question. The emperor gave De Bao quite the honor and ordered Li Yu to carry De Bao up. Li Yu had done his utter best to persuade Jing Wang in allowing him to bring De Bao out here to put on an act. However, De Bao was unexpectedly adding scenes midway, and the emperor even allowed it. What could Li Yu do? He could only cooperate. The emperor held De Bao in his arms. De Bao curiously looked at the crowd of people below, not the slightest bit afraid. The emperor was very pleased by De Bao's behavior and said teasingly to him, "What does Kair wish to say?" De Bao pointed at the man being held down by the imperial guards and said clearly, Yeah, he's bad." Prince Li staggered. He has seen many stated complaints before, but he's never seen it like this. He knew already that Jing Wang's little heir was extremely favored by the emperor, but he never imagined the boy was this favored. He was even bold enough to speak out directly in front of the emperor. Then how does the emperor? Prince Li secretly took a glance at the emperor's response. The emperor actually looked delighted. "Kair, do you know him?" the emperor asked. Of course De Bao knew him. This was the bad man that secretly entered his room that one time and was remembered by him. De Bao held up his heavily wrapped hand and said with a voice full of grievances, "He, needle, prick. Li Yu." Thanks to De Bao, Li Yu also recognized this person now. He cursed powerlessly inside. "Son, wake up quickly. Although it was this person who threatened your wet nurse and secretly entered the Jing estate, your hand really wasn't pricked by him." Here Li Yu was just thinking that he had performed his character as a desperate and worried princess consort very well. However, in comparison to De Bao's extremely pitiful yet indignant expression in that young face, Li Yu was practically trash. The emperor loved this performance from De Bao the most. His ability to understand De Bao's every word and movement was also extremely astonishing. Very quickly, he connected this person to when Jing Wang mentioned before that someone had infiltrated into the Jing estate to acquire the little heir's blood. De Bao probably saw him and remembered his face. The emperor said, "Xiao Kai is a witness. Furthermore, Zhen also have a very special witness as well." The emperor said slowly, "Around noon, Physician Pan went out and let out a white pigeon to meet with this person. After he reported the results of the tests, which was that all of the blood were of royal blood, this person transmitted this information to his master. Not long afterwards, this person's master replied, wanting Physician Pan to do something and change all of the results. The emperor repeated the conversation between the loyal subordinate and Physician Pan practically word for word. The sixth prince never would have imagined that the emperor knew this as well. In a flash, his thoughts became chaotic. How did the emperor find out? And also to this extent? Did this mean that the emperor already knew the culprit behind the scenes was him? But what could he do? Unravel everything he had set up and confess to being the culprit voluntarily, even though the emperor hasn't even said anything yet? No matter what, he couldn't do this. On Prince Li's side, first he heard that both the 8th prince and Jing Wang's heir weren't royal blood and felt like he was struck by lightning. Now he was learning directly from the emperor's mouth that actually someone had incited Physician Pan to falsify the result. Finally, Prince Li jolted and grabbed the crucial point here, "Your Majesty, who was the one that instigated the imperial physician?" The emperor knew about the conversation between the two villains, so he must also know who was the person behind the scenes. However, the emperor didn't actually answer. Instead, he fell silent for about the time it took to drink a cup of tea. During this period, the 6th prince felt like he was dancing on the tip of a blade. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his chest any moment. Many times, his gaze crossed with the emperor. It wasn't the end yet. He forced himself to look like he didn't know anything. Yet he didn't realize that the flow of cold sweat couldn't be withdrawn. The emperor sighed deeply. He had actually been looking at the 6th prince this entire time, waiting for the 6th prince to admit to his own crime. This period of silence was his last attempt to give the 6th prince a chance. If the 6th prince admitted it, the emperor might not have punished him too harshly. However, the 6th prince didn't do anything at all. The emperor finally lost his patience with this son of his. Tian Xiao. The emperor sternly singled out the 6th prince's name sternly. It seemed like everyone's gaze turned towards the 6th prince in this instance. Mu Tian Xiao closed his eyes and did his best to stop his voice from trembling like he was already, imperial father. The emperor said, after Physician Pan left the tent, my guard was following him the entire way. He released a pigeon. The person behind the scenes was very smart and didn't leave any letter, paper slips or anything on the pigeon. Because he had already instructed Physician Pan previously, the pigeon itself was the signal to meet. However, when the messenger servant came to see Physician Pan, my guard also followed him back and found the real culprit behind the scenes. Tian Xiao, the emperor continued, when you were racking your brains and considering your counter scheme to frame Jing Wang and to frame the 8th prince, Zhen was right next to you, separated by only a wall of the tent. Zhen heard you say with your own mouth, to make everyone's test fail. This devious scheme was all yours. Meanwhile Zhen was the most special witness. The reason Zhen didn't expose you right away was because Zhen wanted to see just how far you would go. Mu Tian Xiao felt like the entire world was turning dark, leaving only the view of the emperor in his gold dragon robes in front of him. How? How could this be? He desperately moved his mouth. However, even he couldn't hear the words that he was saying. End chapter.